Hey folks, Jonathan here. I figured it was about time to do another machine here. I guess the machine we're going to do this time is a 1870 or 71. It's really early 70s. Bement and Son lathe, and it's 20-inch lathe. It's 14.5 feet between centers. I think it's 168 inches. The lathe is right at 20 feet long, the total length of it. Made in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania by, like I said, Bement and Son. They've made lathes from 1870 to 1885, and then they changed names and eventually went in with the Bement Pond Miles, a few other companies, but the only years that they made them as Bement and Son was 1870 to 1885. And show you a few things on this lathe. This had sit about 40 years in a friend of mine's building, and in the dry. Wasn't climate controlled or anything, but it was in the dry, so that helped out a whole lot. Over the years it had some repairs. This, you can see, it's riveted everywhere, but if you look really close here, and I can't even see it right this, here we go. It's actually cracked. And it's actually cracked up here, so it's cracked all the way through, and that was their repair. And they look like hot rivets, and I thought it was actually pretty neat. I wouldn't change it for anything, just because that's sort of the stuff I like. You know, the person that repaired that, I mean, to put that many rivets in and do such a good job, and I mean, that could have been done, you know, in the teens or late 1800s, or it's hard to say, but that's a good repair if I've ever seen a good repair. And this thing, it's not bad, but it does have brass bushings in it. And I've taken it down and cleaned everything, you know, not on the outside, but of course, you know, everything that needed to be cleaned, and got everything unstuck that needed unstuck, and you know, including the back gear was stuck. And got it back working. I mean, I didn't do anything special when it came to cleaning. There's got a 2-speed gearbox on this end. You slide this lever in and out to change the gears. It's got a neutral, and I'm not sure what else was optional for it, but, and you know, it's still got a few little problems. As you can see, there's some gears chipped there, and I had some gears under the apron that was that way, and actually some missing, and I actually fixed them. But this came with an updated setup, because you have to realize when this was made there was no electricity, and you know, so this wasn't originally an electricity run lathe. It would have probably been steam, you know, from a line shaft in a factory. And this had a box built behind it out of angle iron, and you know, updated probably sometime in the early, you know, 1920s, or maybe just a little bit earlier than that. It updated electric, but it had an angle iron box that was just all cobbled together, and it did have this motor, and which is a 7.5 horsepower General Electric squirrel cage induction motor, and it had this pulley set up, but it had a 13-inch pulley instead of a 24, and it was actually back here, and I'm not sure how they had the flat belt running, but it bolted to the backside. So I actually built all this to mount it, and I just bolted it on, and I sort of like this setup because the weight of the motor is what, you know, keeps your flat belt tight, and it seems to be working real good. I've still got to get a belt for it, and I still have to adjust it. It needs to be moved over to the right just a little bit, this shaft, well, the entire shaft, and which is not a problem, but you can see my belt's running a little bit off. And this is a homemade belt out of a 3-inch ratchet strap, and I've just got it wired together, and I've been using this temporarily. If you get under a good cut, it'll try to slip. I use a little bit of copper spray, gasket spray, and that tightens it right back up sticky. I mean, it don't actually dry completely, but it's still sticky, a little bit tacky, so it does really good. One thing I noticed about this lathe, with it having a 13-inch pulley, I believe that they ran the back gear all the time to keep it running slow enough to run, the work that they was running. and that's evident by the sharp teeth on the back gear on here. Now these are fine, but these are very sharp, and that's, you know, pretty unusual because you don't run the back gear that often. But it's my understanding that this lathe was set up in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and it was owned by a machine shop there, and the fellow's long gone, passed away. His son still runs a machine shop, and they've done a lot of pipe work for, and we're talking about cast iron sewer pipe for PWC in Fayetteville, and that's originally, you know, where it was used. There's the Bement and Son, Bement and Son here, and what they've done is over the years, you can see, I guess as they've needed to have more swing, they've cut on it and ground on it and probably chiseled on it, and evidence of what looks like could have been a torch, but you know, that would completely throw it off for a lot of people. I mean, the ways are really not in bad shape, but this was a deal, you know, along with some of my other stuff I get. You know, it was a friend. He's, you know, in his 80s. It sit in his building, like I said, for 40 years. I guess he bought it with intentions to do drive shafts. He wanted to do drive shafts, and never got it set up. Always wanted to, you know, he always was sort of a dream of his to get it set up, and never ran it. And the actual original owner before him, his son asks him every time he sees him, hey, did you get the old lathe back up and running? And sort of snickers and laughs about it, because you know, he was probably assuming that it would never be used again. And he you know, always told him the same thing. No, it's sitting in the building. So I let him know that, you know, the next time that the fella, he sees that fella's son that owns the machine shop in Fayetteville, and he asked, you know, hey, did you get Dad's lathe back up and running? I told him to give him my number. I mean, you know, I'd love to let him come out and see it run, and, you know, check it out, and, you know, maybe bring back some good memories for him. But this, you know, it's a long lathe. It's, like I said, it's 14.5 between centers, and it's, you know, see if I can get around here and give you a view of it here. I've actually got part of it in my shop, and part of it sticking in an outbuilding, sort of. You know, this is the beginning of it, and you know, it's just, I didn't have room for it, but I didn't want to leave it out in the rain. I mean, you know, to me, it's, you know, it don't need to be left in the rain. But I had to take the apron apart. There was 3 gears in here, one a bevel geared and the other 2 straight gears that had teeth problems, teeth missing, and I took a 1/4 inch end mill and cut a slot in them, sort of like a you know, a keyway slot, and then made new teeth and put in and repaired it. Okay, and what I did was add these in. This thing has got oil holes directly inside here, and there's, I think, 2 on this side and 2 or 3 on this side. And you can see this side's full of chips, but them oil holes end up going to oil all your shafts inside of your apron, and with them uncovered like this, all of them were packed closed. You know, you couldn't get any oil to it, so everything on the apron came apart, and you know, was redone. All the shafts, I ended up actually knurling a couple shafts and to bring them back out. And if this was something production, you know, you might not want to knurl, but I didn't mind on this. And you know, I've got the table working really good. Everything's good, like I said, but I don't have this unstuck yet, and I've got the bolt loose, and that's how I run it. I'm hoping that eventually this thing's going to break free so I can actually run the back gear, but I haven't been able to yet. But the 24-inch pulley has slowed it down quite a bit, so I'm able to at least do some work with it, and good machine. Gave way too much for it. I actually done some work for the guy, well, towing wise, and I think I done about $200 worth of work, and then I gave him $500 cash. So I figured I had about $700 in the lathe, and I don't know that anyone would ever want to buy this thing for $700, but I mean, even with it being that old, it's got a lot of wear on it. I mean, it works, but it's just one of them things. You want it, so you get it, and then of course then you find out there's gears bad. So you do whatever you do, you're sort of married to it by that point, so you just go ahead and do what it takes to get it fixed. And glad I did. I like it. I enjoy using it. It actually works really well. Real surprised, at what you can do with it. And I've got a 4-jaw self-centering chuck that I, chuck up inside that one and leave in it, when I want to do other stuff. But it's good, nice for big stuff. It was 20-inch swing originally, and I think, they probably got it beat out to about 22 or something. But it does good. It got a 20-inch faceplate with it. Hadn't cleaned it up yet, and got steady rest for it. And eventually I'll get to them and get them cleaned up, and maybe get this thing set up permanently, getting ready to do some work on this building, and maybe pour a little bit more concrete or something. I don't know, but that's my Bement and Son, and hope you enjoyed it. I'll do another machine soon, and if you have any questions, just ask. And I appreciate everybody that's subscribed, and if you haven't, please subscribe, and that you'll see this machine more, I'm sure, in some of my projects, and I'll talk to you later. Thank you.